Today we go to the most inhospitable stretch of terrain on Earth's surface. A place so arid, so featureless, so brutally indifferent to human life that even the wind sounds like it's warning you away. The Great Sand Sea, the Libyan desert, the place where the sky once reached down and burned the ground into glass. Welcome back to Whispered Chronicles, Echoes of Forgotten Lore. Roughly 29 million years ago, something happened here. Don't know exactly what. That uncertainty matters, and we'll come back to it. What we know is this. Something entered Earth's atmosphere at a velocity somewhere between 20 and 70 kilometers per second. The energy released in the seconds that followed was, by conservative estimates, comparable to a nuclear detonation, but scaled by orders of magnitude, we don't have good intuitive language for. The silica-rich sands of the Libyan desert, already ancient, already bleached white by a sun that shows no mercy, absorbed that energy in an instant. Temperatures exceeded 1,600 degrees Celsius.
Ow.
The sand didn't melt. It became something else. In the language of planetary geology, we call it impact glass, sometimes silica glass. The technical designation, Libyan desert glass, or LDG, it forms through a process called thermal fusion, the rapid, intense heating and cooling of silica-rich substrate under conditions that simply do not occur in ordinary geological processes. The result? A pale yellow-green glass. Nearly pure silicon dioxide. Translucent. Sometimes almost clear. Scattered across roughly 6,500 square kilometers of desert in chunks ranging from a few grams to over 26 kilograms. There is no volcano here, no lava flow, no hydrothermal system. This glass fell out of a catastrophe. It's been lying in the sand ever since. For decades, scientists debated the origin mechanism. Two primary camps formed. The first argued for a bolide impact, a meteor or asteroid that either struck the surface or detonated. So close to it that the thermal and pressure wave was sufficient to fuse the sand. Think Tunguska, 1908, but older, and far more intense. The second camp proposed an airburst event. The impactor never actually touched ground. It detonated in the lower atmosphere, directing a focused column of superheated plasma downward. No crater, just glass. The absence of a confirmed impact crater has been the central puzzle. The Great Sand Sea is not cooperative. It buries things. It shifts. It hides. But Libyan desert glass itself provides testimony. Its chemical signature is distinct. Trace elements, including iridium anomalies in some samples, suggest extraterrestrial contribution. Its internal structure, examined under electron microscopy, shows evidence of lecitellurite, a form of fused silica that requires shock pressures and temperatures only achievable through impact or airburst events. The desert made something it had never made before, something it will never make again under natural conditions. In approximately 29,000 years ago, long after the glass had cooled, long after the event was nothing but scattered geology, someone found it. Let's be precise about this moment. A human being, a Neolithic person, living a hunter-gatherer existence in what was, at that time, a more habitable North African landscape, walked across the Great Sand Sea and picked up a piece of pale yellow glass. They knew it wasn't flint. It wasn't obsidian. It wasn't anything they had a name for, but they recognized its utility. Libyan desert glass fractures conchoidally, the same way flint and obsidian do. Clean, predictable, the edges, when knapped, become sharper than surgical steel. Under magnification, the cutting edge of a worked LDG tool makes modern steel look jagged. Archaeological sites in and around the glass field, some excavated as recently as the last decade, have yielded worked LDG tools. Scrapers, blade cores, fragments showing deliberate human modification. Well, these people weren't using the glass accidentally, or seeking it out. We call them, informally, the Starwalkers. It's not a designation from any official archaeological literature. It's a narrative shorthand that captures something true. These were people who harvested the aftermath of a cosmic event for their daily survival. But survival wasn't the ceiling of their ambition. The most famous artifact in this entire story is not a scraper. It's not a blade. It's a scarab. In 1922, Howard Carter's team excavated the tomb of Tutankhamun, Among the thousands of objects, the gold, the canopic jars, the nested coffins, was a pectoral piece. A broad collar. In its center, a carved scarab beetle rendered in pale yellow-green stone. For decades, it was catalogued as chalcedony, a semi-precious mineral, unremarkable. In 1998, Italian geologist Vincenzo de Michele re-examined the scarab. He ran the numbers. It was Libyan desert glass. Someone approximately 3,300 years ago had taken a piece of 29-million-year-old impact glass from the desert, carved it into a scarab, placed it at the center of a royal funerary collar, and buried it with a king. The Egyptians called certain meteoritic materials iron of heaven. They recognized the sky as a source of sacred material. The LDG scarab sits inside that tradition, but it's older than any Egyptian dynasty. In 2025 and into 2026, the picture has begun to sharpen, and it's more complex than we previously understood. High-resolution satellite mapping of the Great Sand Sea, conducted as part of a multi-institutional remote sensing initiative, begun producing detailed distribution maps of LDG surface concentrations. The results are still being processed. The preliminary findings suggest the glass field has a spatial structure, discrete concentration zones that may reflect the original impact or airburst geometry. This is a current focus of active analysis by 2026 survey teams. More significantly, thermoluminescence dating of sediment layers at several Neolithic campsites, positioned at or near the glass field perimeter, has returned dates suggesting repeated human occupation, not a single visit. Not an accidental discovery, but structured, recurrent return to the area. People came back, consistently, across generations. The implication is significant. This wasn't opportunistic scavenging. The LDG field was a known resource site, a destination, possibly a place with cultural meaning that extended beyond the purely practical. Whether that meaning was explicitly cosmological, whether the people who worked this glass connected it to the sky in any narrative sense remains unknown. The material record doesn't preserve belief systems directly, but the behavior pattern is suggestive. The 2026 survey teams are also expanding subsurface surveying areas, where dune migration may have buried associated archaeological material. Ground-penetrating radar work is ongoing. We may, within the next several years, have a clearer map of just how far this human-glass relationship extended. Here's what stays with me about this story. 29 million years ago, something in the sky ended. Whatever it was, impactor, comet, bolide, it arrived with enough force to rewrite the chemistry of the ground it touched. The sand ceased to be sand. The desert ceased to be the desert it had been. That event was, by any measure, a catastrophe, a violence written in geology. And then, long after the heat dissipated, long after the glass cooled to its final pale yellow stillness, a person found it, picked it up, understood its edge, carried it home. And somewhere in the deep chain of time that followed, someone looked at that same glass and saw something other than a tool, saw something worth carving, worth adorning, worth placing against the chest of a king for the journey into whatever comes next. Humans are not unique in using the materials their environment provides. But we are, as far as we know, the only species that takes the wreckage of a cosmic catastrophe and turns it into something you would call beautiful. The glass forest is still out there, pale and quiet in the sand, waiting for the next person curious enough to walk toward the glints on the horizon rather than away from them. This exploration of the glass forest was made possible by your curiosity. Thank you for spending this time with us at Whispered Chronicles, Echoes of Forgotten Lore. If these forgotten stories resonate with you, I invite you to subscribe and join our community of Starwalkers. It is the most direct way to help us continue mapping the whispers of the past. I'd love to know, what is the most beautiful thing you've ever found in an unlikely place? Share your story in the comments below. Until the next whisper, stay curious and stay safe.